Titan, a massive German shepherd, had developed a habit of sleeping outside his kennel in the snow. Concerned, his owner couldn't resist investigating after 3 hours. What he uncovered inside left him utterly astonished. Andrew was surprised when the big German shepherd growled at him. He had raised Titan from a little puppy, and they had always been close pals. When Andrew approached the dog's booth again, Titan reacted the same way. He stood between Andrew and the kennel door, lifting his lip and growling softly, like he was warning Andrew to stay away. Andrew stepped aside, and Titan stopped growling. "What's wrong, buddy?" Andrew asked gently. "What's in there?" Titan wagged his tail and dropped his head, then went over to Andrew for some ear scratches. Andrew thought the argument was over, so he tried to approach the kennel again. But just like before, Titan blocked his way and looked ready to warn him. Andrew sighed. He didn't understand what was going on in Titan's mind. It seemed best to leave Titan alone with whatever was in the booth, as it must have been important to him. As Andrew walked back through the snow to the back door, he decided to check again the next morning. This all began the previous summer when Andrew, who loved building things, spent weeks making a fantastic kennel for Titan. It had a porch and plenty of room inside for Titan to stay warm when the snow started falling in early December, just like Andrew expected. And sure enough, the temperature dropped and the first snow arrived. Titan quickly understood that the structure Andrew built was for him. He turned it into his own cozy spot in no time. Titan rearranged the blankets Andrew put out for him and ate his meals on the porch. When Andrew brought his bowl in the mornings and evenings, Titan thought he was the luckiest dog in Baltimore, maybe even in the whole United States. That evening, Andrew looked out from his bedroom and saw Titan lying on the porch of his booth. Titan looked relaxed, but his ears were up like he was watching. It had been snowing lightly for an hour, and Andrew checked one more time before bed. Titan was still there, even though it was freezing. It seemed strange. Shortly after sunrise, Andrew walked out to the booth again. The previous night's snow had added at least 2 inches to the white carpet that covered the entire property. Titan jumped to his feet when he saw Andrew, but when Andrew tried to make his way past the dog to the entrance of the kennel, Titan stepped in front of him again, exactly like the day before. The German shepherd looked at his master pleadingly as if to say, "Please don't try again." As soon as Andrew would make a move toward the entrance of the booth, the lip would lift and the soft growl would follow. The dog was doing exactly what he had done the day before. He was trying to keep Andrew from looking inside the kennel. Andrew was completely flabbergasted. He had no idea what to make of Titan's outlandish behavior, but then he hatched a plan. He walked briskly through the snow to the kitchen door. Once inside, he took a slab of raw steak from the fridge and started chopping it into small cubes. This was Titan's favorite treat. The dog wouldn't be able to resist a bowl of chopped steak, of that Andrew was sure. The only challenge would be to convince Titan to come and eat it in the kitchen. With the bowl in hand, Andrew walked outside and over to the booth again. Like earlier, Titan jumped up to greet him. Andrew went down on his haunches and made a fuss of the dog. Then he produced the bowl from behind his back and let Titan smell it. The dog almost jumped out of his skin. Nothing got him quite as excited as a bowl of freshly chopped steak. But when Andrew walked away, bowl in hand, and called for Titan, the dog sat down. This was unusual. He normally got his treats at his booth. Now, his owner wanted him to follow him to the kitchen. Titan was torn. He looked over his shoulder at the booth and whined softly. Then, seemingly making up his mind that all would be well for the next few minutes while he wolfed down his treat, he bounded after Andrew into the kitchen. Andrew sat down again, and the dog followed him inside, excited about the bowl of steak. The first part of Andrew's plan went perfectly. He put the bowl in the corner of the kitchen and petted the dog. Titan started eating slowly, enjoying each bite instead of rushing. Andrew always found it interesting how much Titan loved his food. Now it was time for the next step of his plan. Andrew stood up slowly, watching Titan as he walked backward towards the door. Titan didn't pay attention to him. Andrew left the kitchen and closed the door behind him. Phase 2 was done. He walked towards the kennel. Inside the kitchen, Titan realized he'd been tricked as soon as the door closed. He didn't like it and barked, then scratched and whined at the back door. When Andrew ignored him, Titan ran to the lounge. From there, Titan could see his booth. He watched Andrew feeling upset and barked louder, jumping against the window. Andrew heard the noise from inside and looked back at the house. He saw Titan at the lounge window, looking resentful. Andrew didn't like the fact that he had to lure the dog inside the house and close him up. It felt like he was betraying his best friend, like it would somehow break the bond of trust they had established since Titan was a puppy. But he simply had to see what Titan was protecting inside his booth, and there was no way Titan would allow him close. Desperate situations call for desperate measures, he decided, and pressed on toward the booth. When he reached the kennel, Titan became frantic for a few seconds. Andrew was sure Titan would break the glass and come streaking through the lounge window. And the dog wasn't barking anymore. It was now snarling and growling in a really agitated manner. The dog's anger seemed to grow as Andrew approached the entrance to the booth. Andrew got on his hands and knees and put his head through the opening. He hadn't built windows into the booth when he built it, so it was more than a little murky inside. He got a whiff of the typical doggy smell and tried to look around in the dim light. Then he reached out and took hold of one corner of Titan's blanket. When he pulled on it, he was greeted with a loud, fierce hiss. Andrew instinctively jumped back, his heart now beating in his throat. His first thought was a snake, but it would have to be a giant one to be able to hiss that loudly and aggressively. Besides, it was winter, and the chances of encountering a snake were almost nil. Carefully, slowly, and holding his forearm in front of him to protect himself, in case the thing inside decided to attack, Andrew made another approach. Again, he took hold of the corner of the blanket. Then he slowly pulled it back. The hissing sound came again, louder and more aggressively. Hesitantly, Andrew pushed his head through the opening. He was completely vulnerable now because his head and elbow couldn't fit through the opening at the same time. If something on the inside attacked him, he was completely defenseless. But curiosity got the better of him. Once his eyes shook off the glare and adjusted to the gloom inside, he spotted it. A raccoon. For a moment, Andrew was confused. By all standards, a raccoon would have simply fled, yet this one was standing its ground just like Titan had done. It was defending something. Then Andrew saw it. First, he only spotted one kit or baby raccoon, then he spotted a second in the folds of Titan's blanket, then a third and fourth. When he finished counting, he'd gotten up to 6. Andrew quickly realized that the mother raccoon needed a safe place to have her babies when the late snow arrived. Being the kind-hearted dog he was, Titan willingly gave up his home for her and even stood guard for free. Andrew couldn't help but smile at this. Titan, the loyal giant, had made a remarkable sacrifice for the raccoon family. Andrew then decided to build a cozy shelter nearby for them, ensuring they had a safe place to stay. Titan, understanding the situation, returned to his kennel but kept a close eye on the raccoons, ready to protect them until they were ready to explore on their own. What do you think of Andrew's action? What had you done if you were in his place? Let us know in the comments section. Thank you.